Hello, and welcome to this module, Intimate Partner Violence in Domestic Violence Courts, Part 2. My name is Mille Driessen, and I'm a social work doctoral candidate in the School of Social Work at the University of Minnesota. I will be presenting this module also on behalf of Dr. Lynette Renner, who is a professor in the School of Social Work at the University of Minnesota and who is the supervisor of this project. This is the second of two modules exploring intimate partner violence and domestic violence courts. Here are the 4 learning objectives for this module. After completing this module, participants will be able to apply their knowledge of domestic violence courts, or DVCs, from Part 1 of this module, identify how one local DVC is structured to respond to intimate partner violence, or IPV, in its community. Understand how the DVC responds to both offenders and victims of IPV, and identify what recent graduates of the DVC said about their experience. A post-test will be included for participants as part of this module in supporting these 4 learning objectives. The next 2 slides are brief reminders of important information that was covered in Part 1 of the series. So DVCs have 4 primary goals. These goals include addressing victim safety, offender accountability, and justice. As was presented in Module 1, we want to remind viewers that the focus of this project is on the Mille County DVC. The Mille County DVC operates with the following key community partners. So let's now explore more details of the Mille County DVC. To begin, their mission statement is this: to end the cycle of domestic violence through a timely, focused, collaborative response. In order to meet this mission, the objectives of the Mille County DVC include improving public safety by decreasing offender recidivisms through increased accountability for offenders, and increase victim safety by collaboration among criminal justice systems and community organizations. In the next few slides, I will review the specific structure of how the DVC responds to both offenders and victims at various points. First, in order for an offender to be eligible and screened in for the DVC, they have to meet both of these requirements. They have to have any prior felony conviction and a current felony domestic violence related offense. Once an offender is screened in, pre-trial surveillance begins and includes the following activities: weekly compliance hearings with the judge, random drug testing and surveillance by probation officers, check-ins with the offender on the whereabouts line to determine if they're complying with approved geographical locations, a curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and 24 hours of positive weekly activity. It is important to note that other standard release conditions may also apply. After sentencing, the first phase of the DVC officially begins and lasts for a minimum of 90 days. Although other conditions may apply, depending on the case, the list of activities included in this phase are completing a probation agreement and obtaining any evaluations or assessments for treatment, such as for mental health or substance use, the same previous conditions of weekly compliance hearings, curfew restrictions, positive weekly activity, the whereabouts line, random testing and surveillance, and a plan for a 50-hour volunteer project. As an offender moves into the second phase, which lasts a minimum of 120 days, the random testing, surveillance, and 24 hours of positive weekly activity remain. Additional activities include switching the weekly compliance hearings from weekly to bi-monthly, a 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, and completion of both the 50-hour volunteer project and the Batterers Intervention Programming, or BIP. Then, as offenders move into the third phase, which also lasts a minimum of 120 days, the main change is the compliance hearings moving to be held monthly. Otherwise, offenders must continue to work toward completion of the volunteer project, engage in positive weekly activities, complete BIP, and abide by the 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. curfew. In order to have successfully completed and graduated from the DVC, an offender must complete the requirements of each of the 3 phases and all other treatment plans and recommendations. The judge and DVC team may require an offender to move back into a previous phase if behavior conditions are not being met. Once these phases are successfully completed, the offender is officially screened out of the DVC and placed on standard probation. Next, we will focus on how the DVC engages and supports victims of IPV. First, engagement occurs through law enforcement when the arrest of an offender has been made and a police report is sent to the county attorney's office. The county attorney or the Victim Assistance Coordinator, or VAC, receives the victim's information from this police report. Then, the domestic violence advocate will receive this police report and other information, such as if the offender is eligible for the DVC and the date of the offender's eligibility hearing. If an offender is identified as eligible for the DVC and screened in, the advocate will attempt to make contact with the victim in order to explain the DVC process, refer them to legal aid, and complete any other resource referrals to support the victim. Even if an advocate is unable to make contact with the victim, the advocate will continue to follow up with the county attorney and VAC and follow the criminal case proceedings and compliance hearings of the offender. The main roles of the advocate in providing support throughout the DVC process to the victim include ensuring that the victim's voice is heard, updating the victim regularly on matters related to the criminal justice process, supporting the victim and connecting with legal aid, and providing ongoing resources, such as financial and emotional support. Since its inception in 2016, a total of 8 offenders have been screened in and graduated from the Mille County DVC. 68 offenders have been screened in and out due to reasons such as residency or other criminal justice circumstances, and roughly 16 offenders have been screened in and remain actively involved. These numbers fluctuate depending on the month and other matters that offenders might be engaged with at court, such as jail, probation, or other charges. In this current research project, data are being collected in the form of surveys from the offenders who have successfully graduated from the DVC. The next few slides contain some preliminary verbatim responses we have received from recent offender graduates. This is a response from one offender who described their interactions with the judge throughout the DVC process. The graduate stated, "The judge always treated me with respect and asked me questions that were personal, and I respected that because my personal life is what needed the most help, and I was late with a call once and got a stern warning that wasn't at all threatening, or did not make me want to be defiant. I was always treated respectfully and in return gave the respect shown to me. Here are also 3 responses from one participant who is a recent graduate of the DVC. This person reflected on their life before and after the DVC, including why they believe the DVC is beneficial. With regard to life before the DVC, the participant responded that they were controlling, abusive, was in a gang, always fought, treated my partner very fucked up, wasn't going anywhere, addicted to drugs. For life after the DVC, they said they were 14 months sober, completed my GED, plan on going to college, got out of the gang lifestyle, treat my partner with love and respect. Finally, when reflecting on the most beneficial parts of the DVC, they responded, getting my life back together, taught me how to treat my partner and kids, how to be on the power and control wheel. Thank you for watching and listening to this module, which is the second part of a 2-part series exploring intimate partner violence and domestic violence courts. After this slide, there is 1 slide of references for your information that were used in gathering the research to support the content of this module. Thank you so much for watching.